Welcome to the Vegan Squad Pod, a podcast made to inspire vegans to become activists. Join us and our guests as we deep dive into effective forms of activism that we believe will change the world. Whether it's going to vigils, building a physique that shows people we don't need to eat animals, public speaking, or any other form of activism that you'll hear on this podcast, we want to empower you to find your voice and to speak up for justice. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy the episode.
Super stoked to dive in.
I always feel like I'm not doing enough, but like there was point in my life that I really grabbed on, and then I just got so exhausted and tired and sad. So now I'm more I'm still like talking about it. I'm still, like advocating as much as I can. But like it's no longer like my main thing, which it does make me sad sometimes, but I still have restaurant. People are still eating daily. I'm still doing my part of activism where I'm like, I'm still changing people perceptions and stuff. Like my entire family stopped eating meat. So I feel like I've done some stuff, but considering what's going on, you always feel like you can do more. So it just sucks. But
well, I think that's going to be something that we can dive into on this episode too. Is like some of this is what we've seen from some of our other guests. If you go into this 100% of your time and your effort and your energy, even to the strongest people, they still get burnt out. And I don't even think it's burnout from the effort. I think it's burnout from the mental side. Like,
oh yeah, from everyone not understanding it. It just sucks because there's so many. I surrounded myself now with a lot of vegans. Like I barely have a non-vegan friends. Because I made friends in a vegan spaces. Not that I was like, oh, I have to be a vegan to be my friend. Like it's not a requirement. But I made friends in a vegan spaces. So like I'm in a little vegan bubble, and then every time I see the reality, it just sucks.
Yeah. I think that's like the hardest part of being vegan. Like it's not hard to be vegan, just the hardest part is finding other vegans and like learning how to ground yourself in conversations with pre-vegans and just navigating like the non-vegan world. But I think you're doing an amazing job. I mean, you are a huge activist, like not only on social media, but through your restaurant, through your conversations with people. Like I think that you make it cool and fun, and it's very just like open to people. So I think that is a really great form of activism itself, because you're, like when people often put up their defenses when they talk to vegans or like even just hear the word. So I think the fact that you're making it cool and fun, it just allows people to be like, okay, like I can be down with this,
Yeah. No, there's space for all. Like I love all types of activism. Like I think they're really all effective, and I think what I do it's effective, but I don't think it's any more effective than like somebody who is with a sign on the street and who like makes people uncomfortable and stuff, and like just people hate that, but I don't. People consider you probably guys know from Australian activist the Tash. Yeah, so they consider her the biggest extremist that there is out there. And the other day she was taking these hooks from people fishing, and there was so much drama about it. There was so many awful negative comments about her, and I felt so bad because I think what she's doing, there's space for that too. Like there's space. I can't do that. It's just like I don't have it in me. But for the people who have it in them, like her, I think it's also necessary. And in all honesty, like I really, really think that videos will be played one day, hundreds and hundreds of years from now, when the world is eventually vegan, because it's going to be, and she'll be viewed as hero, while today she's being seen as absolutely crazy maniac that like does these awful things. But if she was saving dogs or cats, people would see her as a hero. But because she is saving fish, then she is a lunatic. So the world will change eventually. So I love that type of activism too, because I am opposite. Like it just does not mean that like I think mine way it's more effective, or because I hear there's a lot of disagreements in our own movement as well, which kind of sucks. So I hear often vegans says like, oh, you have to meet people where they are. They'll never be vegan if you like make them feel guilty and stuff. I don't think that's true. I went vegan because I was made to feel guilty. So I don't think it's ineffective. Like I think there is room for everything. There is room for people like me who are like fun and restaurant and joyful, but there's also room for people like Tash or maybe like something in between, like Jamie Logan. I'm sure you guys know Jamie Logan. I'm such a huge fan of her work. I adore her. I'm shooting a podcast with her again for the fifth time, I believe next week or no, in 2 weeks. Um, and she is something in between. She's nice and positive and stuff, but she also makes people uncomfortable. So there's room for everyone. So
True.
I'm just going to tie this in. Welcome to the Vegan Squad Pod. You just got to listen to the CEO of Kalemyname, aka Kalemyname on Instagram, and Nemanja, correct?
that's correct.
All right, I got it right. Nemanja. And your last name, sir?
Golubovic, Nemanja Golubovic.
Yes. All right.
That
So I don't want to mess it up. So yes, that's it. We got it. And we've already dove in. So this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. We don't start with an intro, but I am joined. I want to throw him out there. Alex, aka your vegan mentor one, and myself, aka John Thomas, aka the bodybuilding vegan. And Nemanja, you're bringing up some really hard hitting points right out the gate. So I just wanted to reply and say we actually had Tosh's Tosh, right?
Yes.
Tosh,
Tash.
Tash. Jeez, in my head it looks like Tosh. I'm horrible with names. Tash, her boyfriend Jack Higgs was on our podcast a couple episodes back, and I think you're so right. Like people think she's an extremist, but like you said, if this was cats or if this was dogs, she'd be a hero, and in hundreds of years she'll be a hero. And I think when we look back at like in the United States, certain Native American leaders or Malcolm X, like we have a different view on them versus the lies we were fed. So I love your vision and thoughts for the future.
Yeah. Listen, if I were the animal, I would want Tash Pedersen to be on my side. Like I wouldn't want me to defend me, because that would be all fun and joyful and hope that people will come around. But like it's an emergency. Like lives are at stake. So that's why, like from the perspective of an animal, like I would rather have people like her defending me than people like me.
And I'm gonna say we need both, because
Exactly. But again, from the perspective of an animal, like it's emergency.
Yes, but I think it's a cultural shift too. And while Tash can get out there and get in people's faces and maybe make people feel a certain way, I don't think she can make them feel guilty, and I don't think anybody made you feel guilty. I think once you had the information presented, you chose that feeling because that feeling would allow you to change. Like I don't think someone can make you feel guilty for something you didn't do or have a contribution to, like or be a part of. And I think we feel guilt sometimes when we think I should have known better. But I don't think a vegan can make somebody that's not vegan feel guilty unless that person actually cares.
Yeah, can help them get there, because like we deserve to feel guilty. We should feel guilty. Like honestly, I think when people get so defensive is because they know they're guilty. Like I remember at the early stages. Now it's exactly 10 years since I gave up meat, meaning I went vegetarian 10 years ago, and then 2 or 3 years later I went fully vegan. But my friends that were the most upset about my choice are vegan with me today. So I think, and the others who just did not react, they're not. Like they were like, oh, you do you, and that's it. But the people who try to find excuses. Why am I hurting my health? Why it is not good? Why it's a circle of life and stuff? All of those excuses were needed for them to justify that they are doing the right thing, knowing deep down that they're doing the wrong thing. So actually those who were the loudest end up being vegan. So sometimes when I talk to a person and they have so many arguments ready, I just know those are future vegans. Like, because no person who does not care would prepare all those arguments. Like, you understand? Like, they need those arguments to convince themselves that I don't need changing. Like, this is right. Lion, they start. What about lion? What about lion eats zebra? What about other fish eating other fish? What about crop deaths? What about like all those arguments that I have ready that like so easily to just to debunk? All of those come from the place of I want to convince myself that I'm right.
True.
That is so. This is why I don't think we've told you exactly why we've done this. I'll let Alex hit on that, but it helps me through a conversation yesterday. I came across two guys at the gym, and one guy was like, "Hey, my mom's vegan. I see you're vegan. What do you eat?" And I started talking to him. And the other guy's like, "So you don't eat anything that comes from an animal or no eggs?" I was like, "No." He's like, "I respect that, but I love meat. I'm going to keep eating meat." So I went into some of the arguments, and he's like, "Well, what about circle of life?" And we went into that for a moment, and then I was like, let's change it. Let's talk about the human rights side, because that's sometimes easier to catch people. But now that you say it, he had so many like arguments, so many things he was trying to convince that it was okay. He probably needed the most like support and guidance that, hey, it is okay. You got all these excuses because you actually care.
Yeah,
I had never considered that.
Absolutely, because I know people who don't want to change the stuff. They just simply really don't care. They don't have an excuse ready. I met a dude who told me, "Listen, I would eat humans if it was legal." And I said, "Okay, brother, shake hands." That's like, respect. Like, he just really did not want to listen. Like, it was like, what empathy? It was like, I would like, if there was legal, so his only thing that he based his actions are based on what's legal and what's illegal. Like, he doesn't care. I was like, okay, I knew that's a lost case. But when I see someone who has all the arguments on the world ready, those are mostly future vegans. Trust me. You'll see. Just wait a couple of years, that dude will come to you again and be like, "Well, guess what? I'm vegan now."
I love that perspective shift. Like, you've given two really awesome perspective shifts. That being one, that people who do come with those objections, they probably will be vegan in the future because they just need the information so that they can get educated and have their minds open. So I love that, and also that the vegans and just not even people like Tash, but I think vegans are often perceived as like crazy and just like hippies or whatever it is. Like I definitely had that perception without even knowing a vegan before I went vegan. But I think, like you said, vegans will be seen as heroes in the future, and like the animals do need us to speak up for them. And yeah, I really like your thoughts about the future, both with individuals.
I know, but we live in a world right now where we are seen as extremists and crazy and stuff. So that it's a little bit rough, and makes what we want so much harder.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, any past social rights movement or any past movement, we know the people who were the change makers were seen as crazy because they were going against the norm.
Exactly.
So yeah. So we kind of have to move through this period, and I think it's really important for us to keep finding other vegans along the path and continuing to learn how to find our way to communicate with people, whatever that is, and our form of activism that lights us up and allows us to come strong to every conversation, or form of activism that we do. And yeah, just continue to move through as we continue to grow our little army.
Yeah, we definitely exploded in one moment, and I think that hurt our movement as well, because a lot of people just went back because they were not ready. They did not have their why. And number one reason actually people go vegan is health. People, I think the last reason people go vegan is the animals, which was my case. Like, I legit 100% went vegan for the animals. Until this day, I'm vegan for the animals. Even though I consider myself a pretty healthy vegan, like I do care for health, like that's why I don't drink alcohol for years, for example. So it's clearly I do care for my own health. It's not that I don't, but the thing is, for me, the main switch was absolutely the animals. Like and even in that moment, I was so uneducated about a topic that I thought that my health will suffer, actually, but I was still ready to do it because it was like, I just don't want to participate in this. So I think that people need to find their why. And I think that's how our movement or our, as you say, army needs to grow. Slower growth, but more quality growth, rather than, when all these documentaries popped up, like What the Health, for example, which like everybody went vegan overnight, and then 2 years later we have all these influencers with the videos of why I'm no longer vegan and things like that. So I think it definitely hurt the movement. But I think we're just back on some slower but more quality growth now.
100%.
I think we're on that path. And yeah, I think almost like a stock market, it was just inflated. It was inflated. It was a trend. And like you said, people weren't finding their why. And that's another part that I think we'll in just a moment dive into your why and how you got there and your journey. And that's one cool part of us interviewing a lot of different vegans. Like Alex, I'll speak for him. He found the environmental side first, so went plant-based for the environment, and then that opened the door for ethical veganism. Myself, I went vegetarian at 10 for the animals, and then as soon as I realized what veganism was at 13, I read a PETA magazine. That day, I went vegan for the animals. It's been said to me that people have to find that ethical anchor. So maybe they get their foot in the door for health or for the planet, but if they can find that anchor, they can stay. I do think my superpower in this was I was just young when that argument was presented. Like somebody told me, if you eat this hamburger, you're killing a cow. And I feel like if we could go do that to every 5-year-old, no 5-year-olds would want to eat meat. So when we get people older, they have all these excuses or these reasons, they're stuck in it. But I think we're, especially through the day and age of social media, we have some tools that we didn't before, because we just had Ella Majors on and she went vegan, I think 97, Alex, is that right? 1997. Like I don't even know if we had the internet back then. Like I can imagine trying to educate and share with people what's going on. So I feel like time is on our side in a sense. But let's dive back into you. So 10 years ago, something must have happened. What pushed you in that direction?
Well, I was born and raised in Montenegro, where we have absolutely zero education. First on a nutrition, on what's healthy, what's unhealthy, we eat, what's on the table. And it's very meat heavy. So for me, I was almost not aware that the meal without meat was possible. I literally thought it's like essential part, and there's like a no way that like we can avoid this. And arriving in the United States in the 2015, only a year later in the 2016, I already gathered enough information of like that vegetarians exist. Like at that time, for me, vegetarian. The first vegetarian I've ever heard of was a fictional character. Do you know Phoebe Buffay from Friends show?
Yeah.
Yeah. She is the first time ever I've heard of, and she was my favorite. And she calls herself vegetarian, but she's clearly vegan in the show, because the term vegan was not used in the 90s, at least not widely recognized. So she calls herself vegetarian, but she criticized dairy. She criticized leather chairs that Chandler and Joey buy. She criticized her sister for no food with a face and things like that. She's like an evil twin sister. So she clearly showed that she is more than a vegetarian. Like there is an episode when she inherits a fur coat and like she doesn't want it because it's a cruelty and stuff. So she spoke almost on every aspect of veganism. And she has this adorable song that I love so much, when they have a blackout in New York, when the entire city loses power, and she sings, New York City has no power and the milk is getting sour. But to me, that isn't scary because I stay away from dairy. Uh, and I think that was my first time ever like hearing that someone like who doesn't eat meat exists. And it's a fictional character, it's not even a real person. So I thought that because she's not a real person and she's so hippie and weird, that like that's like a very weird thing to do. But anyway, arriving in the United States, I had a little bit more information, the internet, the Instagram, the things are happening. Mostly watching some of the videos that PETA is putting out there, and maybe had a conversation with like one person who told me, you don't have to do this. And then the second I realized that I don't have to do it, like I immediately decided not to do it. I was like, oh well, if I like don't have to participate in this, then I don't want to. So I just stopped. And again, very little information, no one vegan around me at the time. I was working as a server at a meat restaurant where like we served ribs. So I had very little information, especially about the dairy and egg industry. Even less I understood. Like once I think finally understood the dairy industry, how harmful it is. Like the egg was like, what, how, why? But once I understood those, I think again it was a very easy decision for me to make. And then luckily I started like making some vegan friends online and stuff. Like we are now at a point where like mostly all of my friends are vegan. Just because then I made a lot of friends into those vegan spaces that I entered. And I have the Kalemyname for the last 6 years, the vegan restaurant that I opened on my own, because I just really did not want to work at a restaurant that served meat. And I'm like, oh, I have to translate my veganism into like an actions, because I started being a little bit of an activist. Like my first year or two, I barely talk about it. The joke, how someone is vegan, they'll tell you, did not apply to me for the first 2 years of my vegan journey, because I just really did not talk about it much. But then after that, the more I was learning, the more upset I was about what is happening to the animals. So I stopped calling it meat, but I started calling it dead bodies and or dead animals. And as I was doing that, some of my friends was like, well, place where you work serves ribs, so shut up. And then I was like, okay, well, I have to do something about this. So I was like, I'm just gonna open my own. And it's gonna be vegan. So that's what I've done. Yeah, that's kind of my why. The animals. It just like once I understood that I don't have to participate, I didn't want to, and that's it. And just uneducated, how uneducated I was, back then. And I talked to my parents and stuff, and then my mom just, doesn't eat meat now. She tells me we did the best we knew, and I said, okay, fair enough.
I mean, I think I have like three thoughts that I want to get out at once. My brain can only do one at a time. Your parents only know what they know, and they were also tricked just like the rest of us. And so I don't think any of us, it's fair to like hold contempt for our parents. Like I wish my parents had raised me vegan. I don't think I ever would have strayed away from it or wondered what was on the other side. I think it was so cool you talking about Phoebe on the Friends show. I didn't really watch it. I know who she is because it's such a big show.
Mm-hmm.
I know Lisa Simpson from The Simpsons was vegetarian, and like very rarely do we get represented whatsoever in pop culture in any type of positive light. So I think that is one part about being vegan that's a little bit harder. It's like we're the butt of everyone's joke, or like you said, like, how do you know they're a vegan? They'll tell you. I was that vegan for 15 years. I did not speak up for the animals. I didn't choose to take part in any of it, but I really didn't speak against it because I didn't even really know that you could. Like I did not know any other activists. I didn't come across anyone from PETA in person. I'd only read the magazine. So I think you've already hit on another really big part, at least two. Now you've hit on a lot of things, but another two things that I think are important for people. One, you can build your own vegan family. You can find your other people that think the same as you and accept you for who you are, and quite frankly don't think you're weird for thinking it's weird to eat dead bodies. And then that brings me to the next part. When we interviewed Gary Yourofsky, he said get really, really specific with your wording. Instead of calling it meat, call dead bodies. Instead of calling it artificial insemination, call it rape, call it what it is. And I think that is also something that we can all keep in our back pocket. And I think too, the beauty of doing this podcast, I'm going to ramble for a bit, but we want to help educate everyone that we can. That's why we're doing this podcast. Alex and I had a walk and talk for like 6 or 7 hours. And during that, Alex said, what if we get like the top 200 influencers, activists, and put them all in a room together? We can just educate everybody on how to save the world. And I'm like, well, who's going to talk and who's going to listen? It's going to be really hard to do that. So we've been bringing y'all on one by one to hear your story, to hear your reasons why, and then to hear soon like what advice you would give to a younger you or to other activists out there. If you could speak to Gary and Nina Bergman and Jack Higgs and Tash, what would you say to them about what you've learned so they can do better on their journey? And that's really our goal for this, is to connect and unite vegans around the world. And also, I guess selfishly, I almost do everything for me. Like what would have helped me on my journey? It would have been really cool to see people like Nemanja showing us how we can be activists and how we can follow our dreams and how that can pay off for them. And that by speaking up, you find friends instead of losing them. So I'm already inspired by your story, and I'll stop there in case you or Alex have anything to say.
I think, John, you covered most of my thoughts. And yeah, I'm really inspired by you. I really admire that you are just a powerful leader, and you decided to open your own restaurant and decided to have this as your form of activism. Like, I worked in a restaurant too. When I was vegan, I bartended and I served lots of animal products, and I tried to talk to people about veganism there, but it was really difficult. But I never took it upon myself to open a restaurant. And you're literally like top 10 in the US or just a very, very like prestigious or well-known vegan restaurant. So it's just really cool to see that journey. And yeah, I loved hearing your story. And I also appreciate that. Like, I also had my thought that made me go vegan that day, or at least plant-based, because I went plant-based for the environment, was animals have to get their nutrients from plants. So we could just cut out the middleman and stop all the environmental destruction and go straight to the source. Like, it's not necessary for us to eat animals. I don't have to do that. So I resonate with you with that as well.
Yeah, it's just to think that it's unnecessary. That's all. Like, the only reason I think I was partaking in it because I thought it was necessary. And then that's what I do every time I get in touch with someone who's not vegan, and they ask me questions and stuff, and I say, well, can I tell you things I wish I knew? And they say, oh, okay. And then I talk about it. And I talk about how necessary it is, how much animals suffer, how much pain gets trapped into their fat tissue, how much of a fear of them we are consuming, how we are going to bed to sleep and there's a piece of somebody else's dead body inside of us, how dead bodies are meant to go into the graveyards, and you become a graveyard for the dead bodies once you're consuming them, other than going under the earth where mostly dead bodies are going. They're going inside of you. All those things are so creepy now. And people tell me, you. And I say, well, what is the piece of death of somebody else's, like, a flesh inside of you than that? Like, why you want me to say? And a lot of people after that tell me, oh my God, like, you inspired me to think about it. Or eventually, a lot of people that went vegan, a lot of my immediate family members, which like was the most important to me. Especially husband who I live with, like, it was just so annoying to open a fridge and see like mozzarella cheese. Like, I would just see those cows running after their calves and stuff, and it was just so painful for me. But like, I knew he will eventually come on board, especially since like restaurants started doing so well, and I was like, we're living off this. Like, you cannot not be vegan while we live off veganism. So it's like, stop. So I'm like so glad that all aligned and stuff. But like, in all honesty, when it comes from a restaurant perspective, I'm not that passionate about restaurant industry. Like I'm much more passionate about veganism. I could talk about veganism for days. About restaurant, unless I'm gonna talk through it the eyes of veganism. Like, you understand? That's why when people like Kalemyname, I all spark, not because I love my restaurant, because I love the fact that my restaurant is vegan. And honestly, it's not something I dreamed of ever doing in life or having a restaurant. It's more of just logical continuation of me immigrating to this country with no social security number and no work permit, and then working under the table in a restaurant industry, and like making progress and stuff, and thank goodness get my social and work permit and eventually citizenship, but it took years. So because that was like not a path that I chose, but the path that chose me, I figured might as well continuation of this. It's opening my own restaurant. So it kind of more happened just because life decided, though, then that it was my dream. It wasn't, my dream is for world to go vegan. That's what my dream is.
Yeah, I respect that. And yeah, I hear how much it lights you up that it's vegan and that it's a form of activism for you. And yeah, I mean, like we were saying, it's necessary as well. And you get to have that conversation with people that come to your restaurant, the people that hear about it, the people that follow you on Instagram. Like you get to plant so many seeds for people in so many different ways. So I think that that's really powerful. And I just have a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, and so many non-vegans eat at my restaurant. So many. Like I sadly would not be able to sustain my business if all it was exclusive to vegans. So the fact that there are so many non-vegans, pretty much hundreds a day, that makes me so happy. I know I've served hundreds people every single day that would normally probably eat an animal. They didn't. It's that's why I'm like, I have to keep this restaurant going, because like in one point, in all honesty, like I do so many other things now in life. I have other sources of income now, so like I don't depend on that restaurant anymore. So often I was like, I don't know, like what to do with this, because restaurant be stressful. Let me tell you that hiring people is stressful, having employees is stressful. So sometimes I think like, oh, I don't need this anymore. But I keep it just because it serves vegan food to the people who normally would not.
100%.
I think it's such a phenomenal form of activism. We go to once a month. We go to this Critter Creek Farm Sanctuary, and the owner is like, most of the people that come here aren't vegan, but they only bring in vegan food trucks and vegan vendors. He's like, but while they're here, for the 4 hours they're here, they're vegan. And so it's like we get to change people in those little ways and start to break down the beliefs. And one of the biggest beliefs is vegan food doesn't taste good. So if you bring somebody to a restaurant and they're not vegan yet, they try it, we can at least break that one belief. Like,
I feel that's broken. Like honestly, like I think only stupid people like are left. Like honestly, like a complete idiot. Because like everyone normal out there, I have like, you will read my comments, like my following, especially on Facebook. I have big non-vegan following on Facebook, because like on Facebook, like I collected my following throughout the comedy. On Instagram was kind of different. They have a lot of vegans following me, but on Facebook I don't. And all of them are like, and they're always have writing me like, oh, I'm not vegan, but like I love the vegan food and stuff. And I just recently did a small little viral reel, maybe around 200,000 views, where it was me luring my carnivore friend into a vegan restaurant. So many of them commented like, oh my God, like I'm not vegan, but like I love vegan food. It's not like I'll die if I don't eat meat in every meal and stuff. So it's like they realize that. I feel like most of the people realize, and people who still act like they'll die if they don't eat meat in every single meal are absolute complete idiots.
Yeah. You and Gary might get along. You guys speak very, very similar about people. I hope you're correct. I'll put it that way. I hope it's just stupidity, not complete ignorance still. I don't know. I've seen it both ways. I've had clients too that like what we do coaching, and so we'll have sometimes people sign up that aren't yet vegan. They're like, I still have a lot of people that have never tried tofu, and it shocks me. Actually, I was in a relationship and I was like, oh, I'm meal prepping. I'm making some tofu. Do you want extra? And they're like, no, I don't like tofu. I was like, really? How did you have it? How was it prepared? And they were like, okay, I lied. I've never had tofu. I've just heard it's gross. And I'm like, you just lied to me that you didn't like it. And it's like a child. I'm dealing with a 3-year-old. So.
But also, I'm trying to make this sentence famous, but it's not doing well. When people say I don't like tofu, I tell them you don't know tofu. Saying I don't like tofu, it's like saying I don't like drinks. Drink can be anything. Tofu can be whatever the hell you want it to be. It's the most diverse food on the planet. Tofu can be donut, tofu can be cheesecake, tofu can be chicken, tofu can be a beef ground, tofu can be anything. It can have any texture you want it can have any flavor you want it. So saying I don't like tofu, it's just you don't know tofu. Tofu is so diverse. Tofu can be anything. It's very ignorant actually to say I don't like tofu, like unless you're allergic to soy, fair enough. But like saying, oh, I don't like tofu, it's literally like saying I don't like drinks. Because drink is anything. It could be a freshly squeezed juice, it can be a water, it could be a soda, it could be a cocktail, it could be a smoothie, it can be anything. That's how diverse tofu is. So people who say that they just don't know it. But also when you said that people tell you, oh, I never had a tofu, people tell me, not many, but I still hear, oh, I never had a vegan food. And it's so funny because like, they had an apple, they had a French fries, they had a peanut butter and jelly, which was like a very American thing. I did not grow up eating that, but I think many Americans did. So it's very when they realize how much of the food is vegan, it's just so crazy. Also, I did this funny thing. Somebody asked me about like, oh, so it's like, so then what do you eat? Like, so I said, okay, open your phone, and go to the emoji section, right? And type food, and then it will pop up insane amount of emojis. 4 of them are not vegan, and 100 of them are vegan. So just meat, cheese, egg, and I don't know, one more they have of something like a honey. And then everything else that pops up under the food is vegan. And then like they are staring at that, they're like, oh, damn, you're right. So it's like only basically 4 foods are not vegan, which is 4 different dead bodies and products that come from them. And then everything else is. So saying I never had vegan food, it's kind of wild because like majority of food is vegan.
100%. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. Like 80 to 90% of what you eat is already vegan. It's literally just finding like substitutes for meat, dairy, eggs, and like yogurt.
And check food emojis on your phones, and you'll see. And you literally you can send it to a friend. You can say not vegan and put 4 of them, and then say vegan and put the other 100 of all the fruits, all the plants, all the grains, all the nuts. Like it's just crazy. All of those are in the phone. So
dude, we gotta make a post, and we should make one of those like Twitter looking posts where you can
and then vegan. So it's like next time you tell me what I'm gonna eat if I go vegan, it's like it's just literally 4 dead bodies that are not vegan. We basically eat like 4 same dead animals, like we eat some other animals because we just are like an awful humans that we are, but like we mostly eat 4 dead bodies and that's it.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, we have cannibalism, so we do eat humans in some places in the world. I was watching a movie and there was an alien, and I was like, if this was real and we captured an alien, somebody would try to eat the alien. Whether they were more intelligent or less intelligent or slimy, like somebody would try and eat them. We just eat everything.
Of course. But hey, that mountain that they crashed and they ended up eating each other and people were so disgusted by it. And I'm like, why you're disgusted? Like they ate each other to survive. Like they were in a full survivalist mode. and you are in a grocery store choosing that body, but you are mad at somebody on the mountain who chose a dead body in order to survive. Like, I'm in full support of those that ate dead bodies. They did not like kill to eat each other, but like after, you and I are now in the mountain waiting survival, you die, I'm gonna eat you, but it's as awful as it sounds and stuff. Once you're put in that situation, it's a survival, like, unless you don't want to live, which is rare. I love life. So I think that shows a lot how disconnected people are to what we do to animals. Humans were so disgusted by the fact that others ate humans in order to survive. But then they'll literally go to the grocery store and pick a piece of somebody else's dead body that didn't want to die, that probably never saw the light of the day, and that begged and screamed in the last minutes of horror, begging for life, that a human thought that the sandwich was more important.
Yeah.
It's hard. I guess it's hard. The more you go down this path, it's hard to empathize and understand where somebody would choose not to do this. I feel like it's hard. It's at least harder to relate. So once you have that knowledge and that information, like, how do you just continue being a part of that? And that's what I asked those two kids at the gym. I was like, I can't force you to do anything. I can't force you to go vegan. You can eat more vegan if you want, if this matters to you, but like, you get to choose to either be part of the problem or part of the solution. So it's up to you.
Well, there's so much. There's like, meat and dairy industry have so much money. They have more money than any vegan company on the planet, and they are using it in order to make us feel nothing. They're using it to convince us that it's absolutely necessary, normal, and natural, and then to make us feel numb. Like, literally, like their marketing dollars goes into a little anesthesia that we are all given to not feel for those animals. But knowing that somebody spends billions and billions of dollars to make you feel nothing and you still feel is very special.
True.
I think, like, I'd rather be on long term. I'd rather be on our side, because if you think about it, like, it doesn't take logical convincing to get us to go vegan. Like, it makes sense. Like, I guess it does. It takes logical convincing, but like, you don't have to be tricked to go vegan, but like, you have to be tricked to contribute to eating meat and dairy. Like, like, if they run out of money, they can't trick people anymore. So I think long term we have it on our side.
It's listen, everyone who enters in a debate, it's a lost case. How I always say to people, because somebody asked me, I have my own podcast too, which is now on a sort of a break. But people ask me like, oh, you should have a conversations with a meat eaters and stuff. And I say, how you enter in any sort of the debate knowing you lost already, because you'll never be able to win a debate where you're advocating for a murder and a torture and enslavement and a suffering, when on another side I'm advocating for compassion. Like, that's all. Like, that's it. The debate ends there. Like, we literally can start a debate and say, I am advocating for compassion. It's over. Like, how can you win over that? It's absolutely no. The hate will never outshine love, and that's it. It's literally like a, angel and devil having debate. It's over. It's absolutely over. Like, it's a little like a love and hate having debate in between each other. Like, what your argument's gonna be for murder? You're gonna give me like, oh, the health and sting and stuff. It still does not justify an innocent soul dying. Besides you being wrong, that it's like, let's whatever. Like, let's say even you're right with your nonsense, it still doesn't justify the absolute torture that we are putting onto these animals. So it's lost case. I mean, like, debating anyone on that.
Yeah, it's gonna be so hard to quote unquote win that argument in their eyes if they're coming at it heated and everything. But at the end of the day, like you said, it is compassion that wins and it's love that wins always. It's just about I guess explaining it in a way where they feel that love and want to be on that side. But yeah, also coming back to ads and or like brainwashing, because the meat and dairy industry have tons of money, as we were saying, and they fund medical research studies. Often it's funded by the egg and dairy and meat industry, and I'm just like, people don't read that, so they don't know. But also more mainstream things like advertisements, like Burger King is never going to show you what happens to the cows that are that they cut up and serve. But I don't think I've really ever seen a vegan commercial yet, and I think that maybe is one area where we could maybe have some more impact, but I don't know how we can get into that space unless
There are some. They're just not as mainstream as the others. They don't have as much money as the others. But PETA has made some iconic commercials. I don't know if you've seen one that don't take my cheese away, and that you should look it up. It's really, really, really powerful. And then there was Veganuary. Veganuary, the UK company that makes people go vegan for 31 day of January. They had such a lovely commercial where my very dear friend Tabitha Brown was an actress or main character in that commercial, and it's just, I love it so much. Where she joins the Veganuary and then she goes like to mark every day she succeeded with like a smiley face and stuff, and it's January 31st. And it's like her last day and she's singing, she's so happy, and then the fly flies into her mouth and she swallows it, and then that day she failed like her vegan like a test, and she's putting like a sad emoji on the calendar because she ate a fly, right? And then on the screen pops up the message that says, "We're not perfect, but we can try anyway." And I loved it so much. That's literally one of my favorite commercials for veganism. It's just because, we are not perfect. Like none of us are. Just by existing on this planet, we are causing harm. While we can't bring the planet into perfection, that does not mean we shouldn't be trying. So I just love that commercial so much. It stuck with me. But another one that's like gonna make you cry is the one from PETA, and they played it on a big streaming platforms. But yeah, you should look it up. It's a I don't know what it called would be, but something with like "not my cheese," like "don't take my cheese." PETA put in, and you'll see commercial. It's so good and so sad.
Thank you for sharing.
I think it would be effective. I think maybe what Alex is, if it was like, we see a Coke commercial every day or every other day. Like if we would just need that spending power. That's really what it is. It's all financial. We would be doing it, or at least I believe companies like PETA would be advertising on mainstream TV if there was a way to enact change worth the cost. Like it all comes back down to money. I wanted to get, before we get too low on time, I wanted to talk a little bit about your social media journey, because I think you've had a lot of success here, and I have an inkling, at least an idea of why I think you've been successful. But I think a lot of people think, and younger me used to think influencers just think highly of themselves, or they do this all just to get views and clicks. And then I think a lot of people try to become influencers and they try to get views and clicks, and that doesn't always work because they're not really being themselves. I feel like it is a bit of an art form. I like to be a bit of a comedian, but I feel like you really come across as who you are on your page, and I think you seem so authentic that people trust you and relate to you. So I'm curious, like, you don't just walk into 500,000 followers. It took time to build and grow that, as I'm sure anything else. So how did you get started with social media? Did you ever think one day like, oh, I'm going to have a big account?
No, absolutely not. Never planned it, never wanted it, never realized how powerful it can be. That's probably why I had no desire to do it. I opened the account originally to promote my restaurant. And that was the only goal. Is I had another account that like I no longer use, but that I was barely ever posting anything. So I was very low active on social media. I was like really not a user. I was on it, but I was not posting, or I was not a creator. I was not creating anything with like a picture of me when I go somewhere nice, and that's it. Which was like 4 times a year I would post. And then I opened to promote the restaurant, which I tried, and it wasn't doing well. Like I would put out the beautiful dishes and pictures and stuff, and they would get some traction, but very, very little one. Till one day, of somebody convinced me to do like a giveaway and stuff where like I needed to talk, where I needed to be on the camera. And it was like a very first time ever that people saw who is behind this page, because till that day, it was always food. And it was my most engaging post, of course, but I figured, okay, maybe because it's a giveaway, people wanted like to win something or something like that. And then after that, the friend that I mentioned at that time, a huge celebrity for me, Tabitha, stopped by Kalemyname, and she did an interview with me where I was required to show my face, which was, I think, basically a second time ever that I'm showing myself on my pages. And because of her audience, that exploded, that brought like a lot of attention. But then I still continue back in my old ways of like, oh, now we have a little bit more followers. It was not a lot, like a couple thousands of followers. But I would continue posting food, and I'll get like 100 likes and stuff, but nothing that was changing the course of my business or was doing me like a big promotion. I had no money for marketing. I had no money for nothing. I opened a restaurant with no money. It's hilarious, but I somehow did it. And then I noticed every time there will be a need for me to be in a videos or in the pictures and things like that, or just human in general, there will be more reactions to it. And I honestly think it's because people don't follow beautiful food, even though it's nice. I think people follow humans. They connect with humans. And that's where I noticed that every time I would be on a page, it would do so much better than the other times when I'm not. So in my mind, I thought that at that time I'm doing it because it was necessary for a business to grow and for more, like, to me, more followers meant more eyes on my business. That was my only marketing. Like, I did not have a marketing budget that I could use. So I started just appearing because I thought it was necessary. And then I started having fun with it. And then it started getting like some sort of traction where we had like a 10,000 followers. And I so remember the day when we gained 10,000 followers, because I wrote this beautiful post of like, I felt so moved and touched, and I couldn't believe it. It was like a 10,000 sounded like so much to me at the time. I continued, and then I stepped out of creating just food content, but just doing like just the fun things, or like me at the other restaurant, or me like at the airport, what I ate as a vegan at the airport and stuff. And then I figured out that people are more interested in me than in general, like in the food and stuff. It's extension of who I am, but they more wanted to see my things. And then it's just, of course, there's so many factors that played role into growing the following. I had a lot of shout outs by a really big celebrities that like love the restaurant. I kept creating content when I believe around 2021 Instagram introduced reels. Like, before that was just like a regular videos. The reels had ability of going viral. Like, I started going viral, which at a time, like, to me, was like 100,000 views, felt like a really viral video, which like right now I'm like, oh God, only 100,000. So it sucks, but that's how it changes. Until some videos hit millions and stuff. till I realized in one point that I'm loving it. Then I realized that people connect with me, till I realized that I can make money from it. Now I make money just from views, especially on Facebook. It's the highest paying platform of all. I highly recommend to every creative, any creative watching this, like you guys are creators, get on them Facebook. They have a really, really generous creator fund. They're paying really generously just for the views, so you don't have to score brand deals and stuff. But then I started scoring brand deals and all of it, and I started making living of social media. That is when I realized, okay, I really want to do this super seriously. And maybe it's been around a year now where I'm so like where I'm like I'm full-time content creator. Like that's when I decided. But I think that last year was my biggest growth from all of it before, because before I grew from 0 to 10,000, and then from 10,000 to maybe 300,000 followers, which took like 5 years to do, but then in between 300 and now I'm approaching 600,000 followers. So I double it within only a year. So last year, I think it was mostly hard work. It was a lot of videos, posting multiple times a day. And as you said, I feel like for the first time, especially in those last year, I'm finally fully myself. Like even before, it was always me, but I kept some parts of me hidden because I was uncomfortable to express them, even though everybody knew I was a gay man. I was not hiding that I'm gay. Like I was just not very comfortable talking about it. And I thought it was unnecessary. And I thought like, oh, why would I? And like, it will make some people uncomfortable and things like that. So while it was always me, it was a never fake person. The parts of me were hidden on my social media for a really long time. Within the last year, I feel like I've given all of me. Like the way I really am is the way that you see me there. And often people meet me in person and says, oh my God, you're just really like on a social media. I said, of course, who else would it be? That's not another person. Like even though like I dramatize sometimes, I do skits as well. So like I'm a little bit more dramatic in some things and stuff, but they know when I'm a character, and they know like it's. And even those characters, like when I like overdo it, I still have that in me. Some part of me is a little bit dramatic, and it's just like so. I think that just like I found people who recognize that, and simply growth happen, and I'm very grateful because I'm so particular about it now. Like I like so very protective of my page, and like I know what kind of stuff I want to do, what kind I don't. It's just because like it makes me a living. So now I have to be very careful with what I do, because it is important. It's my full-time job. Like as I said, it brings me more money than the restaurant does, because restaurant, our highest year and a restaurant, in one single year we sold $2 million, which sounds insane. But the thing is, I took home barely anything. Like I took home probably less than $100,000 out of those like 2 million, which is crazy. It's like less than 5%. So while restaurant can do so well, like I have so many expenses and stuff, and the money that I make from content creation, it's just mine. It's like 100% mine. When I get like money from the views, I don't have employees that I have to pay off that. I have employees that I have to pay off the restaurant and things. But also, like when I have a brand deal and I get the money to post something, I don't have to give part of that to anyone unless it's negotiated through an agent, which is 20%. So like, it's a very high profits of what money comes in. Mostly everything it's profit. In a restaurant, you see like their years are profited less than 5%. So that's pretty much my social media journey. I now plan to continue. I think I'm going to go the most aggressive when it comes to creating and posting. My goal is to create more than I consume. And my goal is to stick to just being authentic, and to be in alignment, to keep my integrity, and to regardless of like what I think it's going to do well or not, to create from what I feel. which I've done. I went very political on my page, and I go very. I talked about veganism on my page and stuff. Those are the times when I lose followers and when it hurts my page and stuff. But like, I want to be in alignment. I want to do the things that I believe are um, uh, needed, that they are real me. That's how I feel. I also think like I have responsibility when I'm posting something that like 500,000 people can be watching, often millions, because my reach is so much higher than my following. Actually, I'm right now at a 200 million views in the last 30 days in between Instagram and Facebook, 120 million on Instagram and over 100 million, so almost like 250 million on Instagram and Facebook combined. So my reach is much higher than my following. So if I have that voice, why not use it for the things that are dear to me? And I'm an immigrant myself, so like seeing what's going on in the country, it's also like that's also a misunderstanding of the people. They think like if we are vegan that we only care for the animals, which is like so false. We can care for more things at once, like they don't exclude each other. So I of course care so much about human rights as well. But crazy to think that speaking about human rights would cause me cancellations and stuff like from some people. Because while I'm gaining followers nonstop from my comedy videos and like my fun videos and stuff, I'm constantly losing followers because I speak where people feel uncomfortable. But the thing is, again, that's what a part of my social media strategy is, like to be myself and to speak about the things that I deeply care about. So I'm going to continue to do so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But yes, 2026 is my creating content year.
Let's go. I'm sure people are already following you, but if not, at Kale my name. And that was how I found you, sir. It was from Instagram. I feel like it's been the greatest networking tool of my life. I have a team of 25 people. I've met 24 of them through Instagram, and my life partner, I met her through Facebook dating. So it's crazy how our world is shaped now. And I think the insights that I would want people to make sure they hear this in case they somehow missed it. One, you didn't know the path. You didn't know you'd be in the shoes that you're in today. But by showing up and doing the things that mattered to you and speaking about them, such as getting out of the restaurant industry to get into the vegan restaurant industry, had that never happened, you would have never needed the Instagram account for the restaurant that would have put you to where you are today. So that's like for the young kids out there, like, I don't know what to do next. Just keep being yourself. The path will unfold. It might not be what you thought, but it will unfold for you. And next, I think you've had the most success on social media by being yourself. And I will challenge you. You say you're very careful with what you put on your page. And a lot of people might take that as, well, I'm going to be careful, so I'm not going to speak about animal rights. I'm not going to speak about human rights or gay rights because that might upset people. But by being yourself, that is why I wanted to bring you on here. Was I started seeing your posts against ICE and against the human rights violations that we were watching unfold on social media. And then I saw, oh, he's vegan as well. We probably have some things in common. And so I've lost a lot of followers by posting graphic animal rights content. And I realized some of those might be vegan followers as well, not wanting to see that. So I've changed some of what I put out, and now putting more human rights things out. I've had a little bit of pushback on both sides. I've had tricked people on the other end of the political spectrum have problems. I've also had, I feel like people on the animal rights spectrum have issues with me speaking for human rights, saying, Gary Yourofsky said for himself, he will no longer speak for human rights. He'll only speak for animal rights because no one else can speak for animal rights. So I respect that. I feel like he's only got so many words he can say before he dies, and he's chosen he's going to speak for the animals. But I think, right now there are more people that oppose ICE than oppose factory farming. So if a vegan speaks against ICE, maybe somebody else would agree on our positioning there and then wonder, oh, do we have anything else in common? And so that might be another way to bring people to the correct side on all sides.
And I talk about that too very often. Like I did multiple videos around that. I did a video of speaking about particularly liberalism and people who consider themselves to be very liberal but are not vegan. If you scroll on my page, you'll find that video. It's very interesting. But what I said in that video is that I often find that it's so easy to be liberal because it's mostly words. It's mostly me saying, oh, let an immigrant get a job, or me saying, her body, her choice, because nothing in my life changes if the woman chooses abortion. Like my life remains the same. Nothing in my life changes if like now we are all equal. Everybody, finally people recognize, yes, Black Lives Matter, let's stop killing Black people. Like, it doesn't, like my day to day doesn't change. If an immigrant gets a job, my day to day doesn't change. Like if any of those liberal movements that we are so much advocating for, if all of them happen, my life doesn't change. The only time I have to change, minimum 3 times, more than 3 times a day, but minimum 3 times if we're going to talk about only food, is if I speak for animal rights. Then I have to put it in action and I have to change what is on my plate. And that's where the liberals draw the line of like, oh, I'm going to be so liberal. I'm going to let people be they, them. I'm going to let people choose their gender as their pronouns. I'm going to let women get abortion, their body, their choice. I'm going to, advocate for anti-racism and be Black Lives Matter. And I'm going to advocate for immigrants to be able to be documented. No human, it's illegal. And all of it, it's just words. It's literally all just words. The only time you have to really show it is when you speak for animal rights, because then your plate cannot look the way it looks now. You have to change. And that's where people draw the line, because they don't want to change. They don't want to it's immediately putting them out of their comfort. All of these other things, it's just they're advocating because like, oh, let others have, because what I'm affected. No, which is crazy that some people are against it, knowing that they'll not be affected if immigrants get a job. They're still against it, which is weird. And anyway, but different topic. Liberals will advocate for all of that and be so loud on social media. But then the only time when we need them to show us how progressive and liberal they are in action, that's where they fail us. That's where they fail us. People made awfully a lot of fun of me when I compared. Have you seen movie Wicked? It was super big hit with Elphaba and Glinda and situation. That movie, it's very pro-vegan. Like Elphaba literally fights for the animals, and she has this big poster that says "Save the animals" and stuff. And I said, wow, how many liberals love that movie, but they missed the point. And then people made fun of me. People were like, yeah, okay, I promise after watching the movie I will never eat a talking animal and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you missed the point. They're like, oh no, animals are in the movie, they don't represent animals, they represent oppressed groups. And I'm like, what do you think, that animals are not oppressed group? Like
Literally.
It just makes me, I'm like, oh, this is why it's so hard sometimes to be vegan activist, because like you get so many of that and you feel like, I'm just so tired of fighting this all the time. But I do find, I have my own balances, what I'm trying to do. Like I'm trying to have my vegan content. I'm trying to have I don't want to call it political content, but basically human right content. And I want to have space for my fun content. So it's all of it. It's me. When I say that I'm being careful, what I'm posting, I mostly mean of like not hurting people I love. That's what, because like I do sometimes comedy that like is involving certain groups and stuff. So I'm like always trying to do it with a lot of taste and without ever hurting someone that I love. So that's why I said I'm being careful.
Thank you for clarifying.
Well, go ahead.
You do it.
Okay.
So much to say, right?
Yeah, I have so much to say. First, I love your content. I think it's extremely diverse, and I have two things to say. Two fads. First, back to your content journey. I just really appreciate you sharing everything that you shared and finding your voice. It was really inspiring for me to listen to. I'm a trans man, and I didn't speak about my journey for a couple years. John encouraged me to come out on my Instagram page last summer, and I was so scared to do that, and I had a lot of emotions come up when doing that. Just brought up with my issues with my family and stuff like that, just seeing how many people actually do support me and everything. And yeah, I think I've been taking steps to being more myself, and I've been learning more about personal branding and just literally being yourself. People want to see people the way that you said. So I just really appreciate you sharing your journey and being open about who you are, and in all ways, not only about being gay, but just who you are, who your soul is, and just always being so authentically yourself. And I also wanted to say on the topic of veganism and human rights not having to be mutually exclusive. One of my previous partners, who I ended the relationship with her because she did not want to go vegan, but she told me she was a liberal, and she was always so outspoken about human rights, and literally just being well, she told me at some point, well, I care about human rights and you care about animal rights, and it's that's okay. I'm it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You can care about both. And I try to educate her about, if you care about human rights, let me tell you about what happens to slaughterhouse workers and people who live around slaughterhouses, and the fact that this form of oppression impacts so many other lives that are not animal lives. But yeah, I just agree with you, and I appreciate you speaking on that too, and helping bridge the gap for people, because it really is no different. Everyone's a soul. It's soul rights.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I see when it comes to dating and stuff, I would in a past date or now at the beginning, let's say I got divorced and I'm dating again, I would date a non-vegan just because I know with so much information, education that I have, and if they are a sane person, they'll go vegan. But if that chick was refusing that, and you say she's all this liberal, and clearly, I mean, because you knew her and all of those things, why the liberalism ends? There's no liberalism without veganism.
Exactly.
So why you draw the line there? That's the
yeah. And I respect that you would date a pre-vegan. I think it takes
absolutely, because that's what I trust myself so much. I've seen it. I'm telling you, with my old parents that ate meat their entire life and grew up in Montenegro, small, close-minded country. When I managed that, and then my brothers and my husband and so many of my friends that are all vegan now and stuff, I believe if I'm sharing life with someone who loves me, you're not gonna be watching me cry about the damn cheese, because the cows are losing their babies and stuff, and then bite and keep it in my fridge. That's what I was with my husband. I was if you love me, you see I cry about this. How can you? So yeah, I fixed that.
I respect you. And
non-vegan, but I would not marry. Date, yeah, but by the marriage, you are on the right side. Because it would be really insane for me. I could not. I really believe in energy a lot. So some vegan activists get mad at me. They're you're distracting people from the message. It's not about energy. Well, it's for me. I believe in energy, so let me be. And I really believe you see how you mentioned that all of those things happen for me. Because I was working in a non-vegan restaurant stuff. I really believe that many good things actually happened to me as a result of the veganism, because I think it carries the beautiful energy. I really built a lot for myself. I built really good life for myself, all based on that one decision. And I felt everything else in my life started doing better. Even found a husband that I loved, and also my immigration process, I finally got my papers and stuff. All of that happens after I went vegan. So I felt everything that I touched gave a little flower, because I carried a beautiful energy. I carried the beautiful energy of fueled by plants and not by dead, tortured bodies that begged for life. So I believe in it. And again, I had vegan activists get really upset about this. They're like, don't do it because it only distracts from the message and stuff. It's not about the energy. I said, I'm sorry, but for me, it is. Like, I believe when people tell me, oh, I have anxiety for no reason, I said, oh, it's not for no reason. You have a dead body inside of you that's projecting on you. I absolutely believe in that. The cow dies in a torture and a fear. And then once you consume that, like, why? I tell them, why would you believe that it transferred to the room? You know, some negative people enter the room and you feel their negative energy like all around. Why do you believe in that, but you don't believe that? So you believe it can go through the room, but you will not believe when it's inside of you, which is like much more powerful. So yeah, I really think I had a lot of that vegan kind energy sprinkle on my life, because I get it later on after that decision that again was made selflessly in that moment, ended up giving me so much. So now you can call it selfish, because like I benefited from it so much. I benefited health wise. I never meant to benefit of me not eating animals, but I did. I did benefit health wise. I benefited financially. I benefited just in general. Like it gave me a better life. So I'm very grateful for the decision, and I do encourage people to, I feel I have some problems that you don't know where they're coming from. Like, start from your plate.
100%.
I
Yeah,
think
I love that.
No promises, but test it out. So
Yeah, and it's like the law of attraction with the energy, and also to being selfish. One of my best friends told me once that being selfish is so like demonized in our world, but really when we're selfish and we put ourselves first, we get to pour into our cup and let it overfill so that we can have a better and positive impact on people around us and the world around us. So it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
yeah.
I can't think of anyone, maybe this is survivorship bias, but I can't think of anyone that's said their life is like worsened after going vegan. I really can't. I can't think of one. Even when it's sometimes hard at the start, when your family isn't on board yet or your friends aren't on board.
Yeah.
But still, even myself, even when I was young and alone, like I still don't feel like it ever made my life worse. It allowed me to be more of myself. And I want to be extremely late on this, but also respectful of your time. I know we've probably gone a little bit over. Very quickly, we had Cliff Grant on the podcast, and what I try to do is take a little bit of advice from any of the previous guests to pay it forward, and then I'll take whatever you say and pay it forward to the next one. But Cliff said that one way that he approaches activism is try not to look at the outcome of did this person go vegan, but more of they're on a scale, like a 1 to 10 scale. And when they hit 10, they go vegan. 11, they go activist. I added that. But maybe somebody's at a 0 and you help them get to 1, or they're at a 7, they get to 8, or they're at a 9 and you help them get to 10. And that should be, at least in his eyes, the goal is to help move people along. And I wanted to ask you, if you were speaking with other fellow activists, what have you learned in your time that, and we may have already covered it, but what would you want to pass forward if other activists were listening? What advice would you share with them?
Like, the main thing is what was missing for me, the education. Just educate what you know and what resonates with you. Make sure to talk about those things, because we are out there, 8 billion humans, but not a single unique experience. Like, we always somebody lived through it very similarly to you. So I really, that is what I do. Like, the things that hurt me the most, those are the ones that I'm trying to pass on to other people. The things I wish somebody told me. Literally, when I sit down and I say 15 years ago, what I wish was told to me, what would convince me, those are the things that I now say to people. And I've been pretty successful. I told you, like, I literally, the whole family and a lot of friends. So I think that was the reason, because I thought, what are the things? I'm not saying a new and a thing. I'm just saying the things that I know in that moment would make me drop the fork and not do that anymore. So educate. Tell people things that you wish you knew, but you now know.
That's so beautiful. And that's really, I mean, if we think about it, like, fundamentally, that's how we move forward, is the educated, empowered, enlightened, wiser, older generations can help spread this knowledge to the younger generations. And if they take that knowledge and decide to learn from other people's mistakes, they can go much further, much faster. And so, Nemanja, this was an incredible episode. I did want to give a quick shout out to Cartesia with the Treehouse Show. I got to do an interview with him in person about a week ago, and you left such an impression on him. I think he was more plant-based and for health. And he said that you gave him so much to think about, and to see this movement a little bit more from the vegan side. I think I got to be the cherry on top of the cake that you laid out. Like, it was already perfect, and I just gave him a little bit more. But you helped move him, and he's got a following. And so I think you got your family, but you've also got so many people, so many eyes on you. It's a responsibility, but you're doing a great job. And I think for as long as you keep showing up just as how you are, you're going to do incredible, and the right doors will open. And I'm so appreciative of you taking this time. I feel like you've lit a fire under my ass to do some better content as well. So I'm going to bring my A game.
Keep going and do it on Facebook. It's really a lot of money.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll see
All
you
right,
then.
awesome.
Yeah, Alex, I followed you on Instagram. I just found you.
Yay. Thank you.
Love it. Look at you go.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, guys. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. So lovely to meet you both like this. And next time I'm in Florida or you're in Chicago, come, let's have some cauliflower rings.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
do it.
Road trip. All right. We'll make it happen.
Yes.
All right, brother. Everybody go follow Kale My Name. Share his stuff. Let's help him change the world. Thank you, brother.
I love that. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another phenomenal episode of the Vegan Squad Pod. I hope that you're feeling inspired to pursue activism in your own way. That was our goal when we set out to launch this podcast. We want to help inspire other vegans to find their voices. But that's not all we do. We also have the Vegan Squad coaching team, where we help people find their way to veganism, and we help vegans get even more fit. This, for me, is another form of activism. The more that we can elevate the lives of the vegans that work with us, the more the rest of the world will see us living our best lives and be a little bit curious. Additionally, every single one of the coaches on the Vegan Squad coaching team is 100% vegan. So you know that by supporting us, you are literally supporting other vegans. Exclusive for listeners of this podcast. If you'd like to work with us and hop on a free call, click the link below. One of our expert coaches will reach out and help you elevate on your fitness journey. If anything that you learned today on this episode was useful to you, please share it with a friend, and we'll see you next week.